in the gentle hills just beyond Kyoto's slumbering edge. Its curved, tiled roof collected the moonlight like a poem. Lanterns swayed with the night breeze, whispering stories of seasons long gone. By this hour, most homes in the nearby village were dark. Crickets sang their eternal lullaby, and soft bells in the wind offered a peaceful chime. The tea house, however, was just beginning to bloom. It opened not for crowds or trade, but for calm, for silence. Inside, a single man prepared the space with care and intention. His name was Osamu, an elder with white hair tied in a thin knot and eyes soft with time. Each movement he made was precise, not out of discipline, but devotion. Tonight, like every night, he brewed tea not to serve, but to remember. Osamu's hands moved slowly across the wooden counter as he arranged small ceramic cups on a polished tray. The room smelled of sandalwood and roasted barley. The paper screens filtered moonlight into long, sleepy shadows. It was not merely tea he was. Preparing it was memory. A nightly ritual in honor of the guests who never came, and yet were always present, with a gentle sigh. The steam rising in little ghosts that vanished into the rafters. He sat alone on the tatami mat, floor creaking beneath his weight. Before him, 2 empty cushions. He bowed his head once, slowly. Outside, wind stirred the maple leaves. Their rustling sounded like forgotten voices, like lullabies that lingered just past memory. He closed his eyes and listened. Osamu was not lonely. He was accompanied by time. He sipped the tea in silence, and the warmth traveled through him. Like a poem written on skin. In his youth, the tea house had served travelers, monks, poets. Osamu remembered them all. The poet who wept over a lost love. The little boy who drank barley tea with both hands, giggling with every sip. Each night, Osamu served them again, not in body, but in presence. The tea house, he believed, remembered with him. He rose and walked to a small alcove where a faded ink scroll hung. It read, "To serve in silence is to love without voice." He sat once more, pouring tea into all. 3 cups now, his own and 2 others. He let them cool, untouched. Outside, the wind picked up slightly, brushing past the bamboo garden. In the distance, a fox barked once, then silence returned like a blanket. Long ago, in the quiet folds of wooded hills, where the wind spoke in sighs through bamboo leaves, and time moved not with the ticking of clocks, but with the rustle of silk and the fragrance of incense, there stood a tea house. It was small and humble, its roof draped in moss like an old kimono laid gently over weary shoulders. Lanterns hung at its entrance, soft and golden, flickering like the fireflies that often hovered in the dusky air nearby. The tea house had no name carved on a wooden board, no painted sign to boast its purpose. It did not need one. For those who knew of it, those who walked the winding stone paths beneath the moon to reach it, the place needed no introduction. It was simply the house of stillness. Its sliding doors creaked softly, not out of neglect, but age. Everything within had aged with grace, as though time itself had been asked to slow its pace before stepping across the threshold. Tatami mats, worn smooth by 1,000 careful footsteps, smelled faintly of dried rush grass and sandalwood. The walls, made of rice paper and wood, filtered the moonlight into a soft wash that made the interior glow like a lantern itself. Tonight, as twilight faded and the indigo sky melted into a pool of stars, the tea house was silent. Not abandoned, never abandoned, but waiting, like a breath held in reverence. An old woman named Sayo, the caretaker, moved slowly within. Her kimono was a faded pattern of plum blossoms on dark silk, wrapped neatly and tied with an obi that had belonged to her mother. Her movements were unhurried. She did not rush to complete her tasks, for here nothing was rushed. Even time bowed at the edge of the tatami mat. She lit a single candle in a bronze holder. The flame stood tall and calm, casting long, gentle shadows across the bamboo floor. Then she knelt, her knees finding their usual place upon the mat, and began the nightly ritual that had remained unchanged for years, perhaps decades. A wooden ladle was lifted. Water poured into a black iron kettle that sat nestled in the hearth square, sunken into the floor. The water did not boil quickly, nor was it expected to. Its heat would rise in silence, the way dew gathers on leaves. Outside, the wind shifted the branches of a pine tree. A faint creaking could be heard from the garden gate, but it was not a sound of alarm. It was the world breathing gently, slowly. Like a monk in meditation, Seo's hands, wrinkled but steady, opened a lacquered box. Inside, nestled in silk, was a chawana tea, bowl-crafted by her grandfather's hands. Its glaze was irregular, stormy gray, with specks of midnight blue, like the sky above Kyoto that very evening. She lifted it with both hands, bowing her head slightly, as if in greeting. The chasen, a bamboo whisk, rested nearby. It had been used so often that its bristles had curled inward like the petals of a chrysanthemum past bloom. Still, it served its purpose with quiet dignity. The tea she used was matcha, deep green, powdered finely like the moss on temple stones. She measured it with care, each motion deliberate, silent, almost sacred. And when the water was ready, when steam began to rise in lazy swirls from the kettle, she poured, whisked, and offered the cup to the empty space before her. There was no guest tonight, not in the traditional sense, but she bowed just the same, her hands folded, her eyes lowered. Perhaps she offered the tea to a memory, perhaps to the spirits of guests long gone who still lingered in the corners of the room. Or perhaps it was simply an offering to the quiet itself, that revered silence which so few could understand, but which she had come to love like an old friend. Outside, a bell rang softly. It was not mechanical. It was the sound of wind nudging a bronze wind chime, hanging from the eaves. The notes were high, delicate, like the laughter of a child in a dream, and they vanished just as quickly, replaced by the soft chirp of a cricket and the distant hoot of an owl. The tea cooled. Sayo did not drink. She only sat beside it, breathing in the steam, closing her eyes. Her mind wandered, but not far. It drifted like a paper boat on a pond, slow and untroubled, circling memories she did not need to name. She remembered the night a samurai came. Years ago, his armor covered in dust from the road. He had removed his blades at the door, bowing low. Servants, her eyes curious, her voice a whisper. She had laughed at the taste of the tea, but asked to return the next evening. Many nights, many guests, some now buried beneath Kyoto's temples, some perhaps reborn. The tea house remembered them all. And so did Sayo. Outside, the garden breathed. Gravel paths, raked into delicate waves, held the moonlight like water. Stones sat in quiet contemplation, surrounded by moss that had seen more years than the old woman herself. And in the corner, near a basin of water carved from granite, a cat sat watching. It was a stray, or had once been. Now it belonged to the house. Its fur was a mix of ash and snow, and its eyes gleamed gold. Seo had never named it. It needed no name. It came and went as it pleased, like mist. It yawned, slow and wide, then padded across the stepping stones to rest near the door, curled like a comma, silent and complete. Seo stood, her knees stiff. She poured the unused tea onto the earth outside. The liquid soaked into the moss without complaint. It was, after all, an offering. Back inside, she swept the hearth clean. She folded the cloths. She returned the chowan to its silk-lined box. Every action quiet, every gesture precise. She did not need to look at the moon to know. Breathing in the scent of the dying flame, her eyes closed, and her mind drifted not to sleep, but to stillness. It was enough outside. Kyoto dreamed its lantern-lit streets quiet, its temple bells hushed, its mountains wrapped in fog, and within the tea house, the whispers continued, not loud, not sharp, but soft, like wind through reeds, like the sound of calligraphy brushes tracing wisdom across silk, like a memory that never needed words. Osamu smiled. He could almost hear footsteps beyond the sliding door, ghostly polite, waiting, but he did not turn. The tea cooled. Time slowed. Eventually, he rose, bowing toward the empty cushions, and carried the tea tray back to the counter. He poured the untouched tea into a small stone bowl in the garden, a gift to the earth. The moon had crossed half the sky. The fireflies had returned, glowing like tiny stars that had wandered too close to earth. Osamu lay down on a thin mat near the window. He left it open so the night air could enter. The tea, the wind, the memories, everything flowed like a river around him. As his eyes closed, he whispered one word, arigato, and the night carried on, soft and slow. The tea house slept, and so did he.